Hi there, Janine Regan-Sinclair here. We did advertise, sorry guys, I'm a little bit late, a few minutes late. So just see if anyone drops on. Hope you're all doing well. It's been quite the week for energies. Hi there, hey Ryan. Hi Dee, how you all doing guys? Sorry I'm a little bit late, got caught up with something, you know how it goes. Hi there, hi Love Notes. How you all doing? Lisa, Janice, Raisa, nice to see you guys. Think Fit, Aztec Supreme, AK Kimball, Jez, how you all doing? Good to see you. How's your week been? Mine has been... I've had 4 days of what I can only describe as a really difficult dark night of the soul. Has anyone else been going through it? I just couldn't stop crying for 4 days. And super fast, yeah, time is speeding up hugely. I mean, I can't believe it's, the 26th of January already? Let me put my specs on because I can read better with them on. So yeah, this week has been, apart from, exhausting as well, a lot of emotional stuff coming up for me. I hope you haven't been going through what I've been going through, because I was just in a really bad way. I just could not stop. I woke up crying. I went to bed crying. I cried sporadically throughout the day. You have to confront a beast, or a good one. That's a good level up. It always is. The one thing I'm doing is sleeping okay, thankfully. But I've been waking up earlier than usual. So yeah, the tide turned today. I got up this morning and it was as if I'd won the lottery or something. I just had this overwhelming good feeling. Diarrhea and vomiting with no other symptoms while late home. Oh, poor you. Lots of purging going on. That's not good. Not good. Yeah, I am. But those of you that know me, I've had a lot of loss in my lifetime, and a lot of grief was coming out, and the work that I'm doing now, stepping up again, leveling up again, which is what's going on, which is what all this is about. Being in positions in other lifetimes where, looking back where I've, been in positions, and I say this without ego, but positions where you're in a powerful place or you're a leader or something like that. And the anxiety and stress that comes with that, and lifetimes of watching your tribe be wiped out, or your community, or your, town, village, whatever, not even all on this planet. So there's been a lot coming up. And even going back to an abandonment issue, when I was about, probably, I would say, 10 or 12 months old. And there's a photograph of it in the family photo album. And basically my mum just sat me on this big, huge rock about 5 foot high and walked away to take a photograph of me, because I had this cute little lemon dress on with those frilly, I don't even know what you call them now, those frilly plastic pants they used to put over the terry towel in nappies, diapers back in the day. So I looked really cute, but obviously when she walked away, I just thought she'd abandoned me and went into absolute terror. And in the photograph, I'm screaming, but my mouth's wide open. But I got taken back to that as well. And deep abandonment issue over it. And as you probably know, most of you know, I'm moving into addiction retreats this year. The first one's in April on Vancouver Island. And I've really started to pull together the importance of what we do with our children, especially. I'm always saying that. But how something as simple as feeling abandoned can end up later in life where you've got relationship problems, or you end up with an addiction because you're trying to fill a space, fill a gap in yourself because of something that happened when you were really young. In fact, I think every addiction has got trauma at its core. And I've been listening to a lot of stuff about addiction and about how addicts feel. These are like case studies. I've been reading a lot of case studies and how addicts feel like, unworthy, and how society treats them like that, really. The system is set up not to look at these people like they're real human beings with a problem. It's like, oh, they're just a junkie or they're just an alcoholic. Not realising that people go down that road because they've got deep-rooted unhappiness because of some kind of trauma that happened earlier in life. And that's what my focus has always been. I'm a trauma specialist. It's what I'm into. But those of you that know me on here, is the other thing that happens with addiction. Once you go down that road, a few too many drinks or drugs or sex or internet or Netflix or shopping or whatever it is, gaming, it allows entities into your system. And that's something that I'm really good at, taking out of people, no matter how big and dark they are. So the new protocols for the retreats that I'm doing on Vancouver Island, they cover all of these different areas, going into childhood trauma, going into psychological reversals, things like a part of you that convinces you that having half a bottle of wine every night is no big deal and you've worked hard today and you deserve a drink, go on, have another glass. That's called psychological reversal. So that's the part of your psyche that thinks it's helping you, by cheering you up and going, you deserve it, have a pat on the back, you've had a hard day. It thinks it's helping you, but it's actually encouraging you to keep doing whatever you're doing. And whatever you're doing is numbing the pain or the loneliness or whatever feeling you've pushed down from trauma in the past. Most people don't even think about that. If they see people, homeless people on the streets, and the worst I've ever seen was when I was in Vancouver. I think it's the east side. And the streets, the main road, like this is a big wide road, like 5-6 lanes wide, all both sides of it for a few blocks, just tents and people living on the streets. I've never seen so many homeless people in my life. I was completely shocked when I went into Vancouver. And there's an amazing doctor called Dr. Gabor Mate, who works down there at the Portland Hotel helping addicts, and I've been really watching his stuff on YouTube and things like that. And he admits that he's got addictions himself to collecting music, I think, and a workaholic and stuff like that. So it goes into so many different areas that most people don't even realise, So it's something that we need to think about. We need to think about people in society. We need to think about people in our families that have gone down those paths, and look at them as people that need help rather than people that are being selfish or just self-sabotaging or, something like that. More empathy is needed, and certainly more needs to be done on a bigger scale. There's a documentary I watched a few weeks ago on Netflix about addiction and about drugs on this planet, and I think they've got a great case for decriminalising them, because then it takes the top of the pyramid of the criminal aspect away, and completely changing the way. I don't like the word when they call it war on drugs. I don't like war on anything. Is not a good idea, because it's not a good energy, the word, to be putting into anything, and it's a waste of time anyway. Most of it, they might, the ones going out of Africa, I think they they get something like 1% of stuff that they find and the police take. It's not even working, and it costs a fortune. And I read somewhere last week that there are 46 million people in America with addictions, and it costs the country $740 billion a year. If you add up time off work and medical stuff and the problems that it causes in families and the money and stuff like that, and only 1 in 10 people are actually getting help for it. And in the documentary, it talked about, because they've stopped the trafficking across Europe, it's now moved down into India and Africa, and the I'm not going to say the word, but sticking things in yourself, is rife down there now, because they're using those ports instead of the European ports. And it made me think, has that spread in the last couple of years because of the other thing that's been going on? And is it a projection of the other thing that's made things worse? If you understand what I'm saying. Those of you that understand the law of projection will know what I'm saying here. Because what goes on in society is projected out into the world. So to me, from the research that I've been doing, the addiction program has got a hell of a lot worse in the last couple of years, like ridiculously. So we're heading into a future at the moment that's going to need a lot of healing, and that's just one area. That's one area that's evolved. And then you've got the trauma that went with what's gone on over the last couple of years as well. So this needs to be brought to mainstream. It's not mainstream. The current systems treat people as a physical and mental disorder, but they're not treating people on the spiritual level, which is the energetic level, which is the entities and the demons. Getting somebody to be, doing things like the 12-step program. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know the 12-step program. I've read what it is. But if addiction's getting worse in society and not enough people are getting access to these things, there has to be another way of doing it. But what I have watched, when I was in England, I watched every episode of a certain doctor on TV, and I'm not going to mention their name, Rehab. And I think it was 35 episodes or something when I was studying addiction then. And the spiritual aspect, and I use the word spiritual to describe energy rather than spirits, was people getting up and meditating in the garden for 30 minutes in the morning. The rest of it was talk therapy, basically. Well, with addiction, you've got entities and you've got what spiritual people would call demons that go into your system. So you can perhaps get somebody into a routine of, doing meditation every day and doing their prayers and abstinence and so on and so forth when they're in that unit. And when they go home, they try to keep that going. And the entity or the demon might, it leaves the building. It's like, I'm out of here, because there's no booze around or no drugs. It's not getting its fix. It will appear to have gone away. But then further down the line, people relapse because the entities come back in, because there's something in their Akashic records. There's a contract. When you go into addiction processes, there's a contract in the spiritual plane, in the level of consciousness in the Akashic records, for you to have this entity to come into your system for a certain amount of time until you realise that you've got a problem. And if you don't go into the Akashic records and cancel that, then very few people can overcome addiction, because the contract is still there and the entity has got the right to enter into your field and to cause you problems again. And it may not even be an entity. It could be the spirit of somebody who's passed over, that liked their booze or something similar, and they latch onto you, so they're an attachment. That's a spiritual attachment. And they can come and go. They can pop around from person to person as well. So I'm always talking about being careful with children. And be careful with children if you've got small children and you're giving them to people who drink a lot, because you're allowing access of their entities to your children. Most people wouldn't even think of that. And it's the same when people put videos on here of, cute little babies and stuff like that. They need to be aware that if they're not putting energetic protection around them, that lower frequencies can hook into their children on an energetic level. People don't realise how vulnerable children are when they're on screens and things like that. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I, wanted to pop on and let people at least mull over it, themselves, have a think about it, and just spread the word, really, because I've seen it happen, and I've seen it happen even with my own little dog, and that's why I don't bring him on the screen. Very rarely people have seen my dog, because he is just a little bundle of source energy. If I have brought him on here, and everyone's got dark sides, we've all got shadows. Shadow sides of people have hooked into him through the screen and stuff like that. So that's why I don't put my dog on the screen with people. Now and then he comes into a workshop with me, but that's, it's a much different experience to being on a live platform where anyone can come on. So being aware of your animals as well as your children. And with all these energies moving through at the moment, they really need a good rub. They need a massage. Even your kids might need a massage as well, just to, get the energy moving through people. And I read something the other day where somebody said that everyone was going through ascension symptoms, and somebody argued and said, no, they're not the 3 Ds, just the 5 Ds. And I disagree. I think the 3 Ds are going through ascension symptoms as well, because the energy is passing through everyone. Are they on video only vulnerable? Are they live also shown on taped video? Taped videos as well. You have to remember that your phone or your computer, they're portals. And shadow aspects are energy. They can put their hooks through a portal and hook into something with intent, because everything is just in the field of consciousness. Everything is just the quantum field of consciousness. So what we see as a physical reality, thinking that we're safe behind this screen, or, our child is safe behind this screen, it's not just a physical reality. It's an illusion based on our senses. Behind it all is just a field of consciousness. And shadows know how to, move through this field of consciousness. How do you protect yourself? Well, what I would recommend, first of all, is my intention is to observe and not absorb on any level of my being, because we absorb through our ears as well as our eyes, and we absorb stuff coming out the screen into our bodies. It's not just going in through your eyes. Sometimes I ask for a lead box around my phone if I'm not opening the one portal as well. And when I phone people, I always press the button and then put my phone down on a stand, so I'm not actually touching the phone, because it's touching the phone that allows the connection. Just asking for protection from your higher consciousness, protection and camouflage every day before you leave the house. I do it as soon as I wake up in the morning. I ask for protection and camouflage around me and around the house. And I do it when I'm out in my car. I also, if I'm driving, I ask for, I call it travel mode protection, which is a bubble around me, a tube to where I'm going, and a bubble around where I'm going. So I'm in travel mode. So I've created my own kind of subway from me to where I'm going. And that helps a lot. It really does help a lot. So it's good to see you guys. Jess, Paul, Vero's Queen, Jana, thanks Kim for joining. Thanks for the waves. Lacey, hi, thanks for joining me. So yeah, just talking about protection for your energy field and the importance of what you're putting on screens in regard to your children and even your animals. If they're, animals live in the moment anyway, and they're just little bundles of source energy. Anyone with a cat or a dog knows that. You don't, very rarely, you will see an animal, a pet, with bad energy, unless it's, it's poorly, it's sick, or it's depressed. And animals can get depressed as well, and so can children. I was thinking back to when I was a young girl, and I've done a lot of inner child healing this week, and looking back to the very first time I felt depressed as a child. I was 3 years old. And I went back, I travelled back, regressed back, and I could see the little me sitting on the step with her head in the hands. And I asked her, why do you look so sad? And she said, I don't like it here because my magic doesn't work. So obviously in the other planes, magic works instantly, instant manifestation and stuff like that. And I also remember being about 13 years old and going to my mum and saying, she was like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I just feel depressed. And my mum said to me, you can't be depressed. You're too young to be depressed. But this is really common in people like me. And when I say people like me, I mean starseeds, light workers, people that have got ADD, ADHD, people that are considered sensitive. And it's not sensitive in that we're touchy and, drama queen sensitive. It's sensitivity to the world. We feel things on a deeper level. We're very compassionate. We feel the pain in the world. And that gets misunderstood, that we're weak as a result. I was a very sensitive child. I used to have what I call deep thoughts at a very early age. I'd go and sit in the park with my pens and paper, and I would draw the trees, and I would start having these really cosmic deep thoughts about the meaning of life and stuff like that. Thanks, Rosie. And yeah, empathy on a really deep level. But empathy is another thing, Gina, that is linked to trauma. So there's a couple of things I've picked up this week about empathic people tend to have trauma that they've had early on in childhood. And if you're sensitive to that as well, you can end up, actually, Dr. Gabor Mate, he puts ADHD and LinkedIn with trauma very closely and says it's because when we're children and we're so sensitive, if we're in a household, and it doesn't need to be abusive parents, it could be that both your parents are at work or they're just too busy because there's a lot of children and they're trying to sort everything out. Hi, Moss Forest. And you're just not feeling that you're getting the nurturing that you deserve, or they're too busy to pick you up and give you a hug if you fall over and hurt yourself or something like that, and they just give you a rub and go, you're fine. And when you really need a bit of extra nurturing because you are so sensitive, that we tend, I don't agree with him on all of this, but I do agree on some of it. So what you're saying is that ADHD tends to come from us being out of our body. So what we would do in those situations is we astral project when we're children. I used to do it all the time. And my mum would say, oh, she's away with the fairies again, because it was like I was in no mind and I was out of my body with the fairies in the garden, literally, playing with them. And it causes a disconnect and your brain gets stuck in not being fully grounded in your body. Now, I've worked with ADHD, and not being grounded is one of the biggest problems there is. If you've got children that are ADHD or ADD, crystals like tiger eye, hematite are really helpful. There's also a purple crystal, I can't remember the name of it now, it's a long time ago, I worked with it, that specifically helps with Asperger's and stuff like that, and they do help to ground people, they do help to ground children. So he was saying about we get distressed with our surroundings, and another symptom of that is earaches and sore throats. Okay, earaches are linked to a couple of things on the consciousness level, and that's either not liking what you're hearing. So if you're in a house and you're sensitive and there's loads of siblings and it's all rowdy and noisy and it overwhelms you, or your parents are fighting and arguing all the time, that can cause earaches in children. Or not listening to your guides if you're older. I'm going to scroll these down a bit because I want to answer some of the questions if I can tonight. Okay, let me have a little look. Deep thinker. Somebody asked me why I was crying. Just lots of stuff, really. Grief. Okay. No memory of my childhood. See, that can be linked to trauma as well because you've shut it down, closed the door on it. And I was like that as well. I haven't got much memory of my childhood before the age of about 10. I can remember 2 or 3 traumatic incidents that happened. One, and it doesn't need to be anything major like severe abuse or anything like that. I remember being at school and had this little pink rabbit that was like felt, and it had a really cute face and big eyes on it. I used to hide it in my pocket, and my teacher took it off me, and it actually gave me a soul wound. I was so traumatized by losing it because I was very attached to it. I was about 7, and I've been back and healed that. So it doesn't need to be, and you know, there are some I've had friends that have been through dreadful childhoods, like sexual abuse for 14 years from the age of 3 years old, every weekend. And I can't imagine. So let me read some of these now. Yes, your grandma's sister, and they called her my imaginary friend. Children, very clairvoyant. We're all clairvoyant up until the age of 7, and usually that's when we go into soul braiding. I've spoken about that before, where you go through a massive change between 7 and 8, and there's a growing up kind of thing comes in there, where if you have got imaginary friends and they say you're too big for that now, and your soul braiding happens, you can actually have trauma later on in life because of that, because there's this awakening. It's like finding out Father Christmas isn't real. That's a trauma to children. So that's another thing adults, parents really need to consider. When we tell our kids about Father Christmas, we're lying to them. And then when they find out, they think, oh, well, Mummy and Daddy have been lying to me for years, so it's all right to tell lies, is it? So, highly sensitive person, as if it was a bad thing. Your mum told the person who did the evaluation, is that what you call it? What a blessing. Thank you so much. Oh, good for your mum. Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. Neither is ADD or ADHD. Pretty much, I would say 9 out of 10 of my closest friends have got ADD or ADHD, and every one of them, geniuses in their chosen field. Geniuses. I look at ADD as a gift in the sense, I do think some of it's down to, this when we were children, and that's been proven as well. So I think it's a collaboration of things. But I see it as a gift, and this is why I see it as a gift, because people like us are very difficult to program in the education system. And we all know that the education system is programming kids into being 95% stuck in their left brain, which is logical brain, instead of the female right side of the brain, the intuitive, creative side of the brain, for a reason. School system started around about 1500s, 1600s, and the old saying, you know, give me the boy till he's 7 and I'll show you the man, because in the first 7 years you're in theta brainwave frequency, totally open to being programmed, because your brain, your consciousness absorbs everything you see and experience as the truth. And that's where your hardcore programming comes in. That sets the precedence for the rest of your life. So what happens up until the age of 7 is really important. But did you also know that up until the age of 2, a child's brain is and their skull is still actually growing? So the more mental stimuli and attention and games and stuff like that, reading and stuff you do with a 2-year-old, their brain is actually growing from as much education as you can give them in the first 2 years. And after the 2 years, the skull stops growing. So, you know, the first 2 years is just as important, if not more important, than the first 7. So children need to be protected. I'm not happy about what's going on in the world. I think there's a lot of stuff out there, people locking their children in the house, put them in the bedrooms on the computers, is more dangerous than them going down the park and kicking football around or playing with the skipping rope like we used to do when we were kids. If you look into the stats on child abuse and stuff like that, it's usually somebody that knew them in the family. And there's a lot of abuse goes on the internet as well, cyberbullying and stuff like that. So, you know, I think we need to be moving back into how it was when I was a kid, where we went outside and played instead of being stuck on screens indoors. I don't think it's good for children. I don't think it's good for their communication skills. I don't think it's good for them making friends. I don't think it's good for them, just the level of joy that you get being down the park with your friends and playing with other kids and stuff like that. So there's a lot to think about, which is going on with the children. Okay, so what's this one? I've had lots of trauma as a child, but I remember it because I had a grandmother that lived with me and let me be 2 times a month at her house. Sorry to hear that, love. I am. So what do I say when my niece asks, is Santa real? She's 10. Do you want to lie or do you want to tell her the truth? The choice is yours. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying we do it. You know, I did it as well. But now I'm in a different position now. Lying is something that I won't do it anymore. If somebody asks me something and I know what if I tell them the truth, it's going to upset them, I just say I'd rather not say. Because the energy of it feels really strong to me now. And it's always been something as an adult that I've said to people, please don't lie to me, because I can feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my gut, just under my heart. And I get a tightening like, And, once people lie to me, there is a disconnect, because it's something that really bothers me. And if you look at society and what's gone on in the last couple of years, and what goes on in governments and what goes on in politics and all this stuff, there's a lot of lies. And it's a projection of us lying. So if we want them to stop lying, if we want advertisers to stop lying, if we want politicians to stop lying, if we want the churches to stop lying, we need to stop lying. When you understand the law of projection on a deep level, you look at life completely different as a result. And I want to live in a world where we are honest all the time. And I know it's not easy, but it's easy to say nothing rather than tell a lie. It's easier to say nothing rather than tell a lie. And white lies are still lies, So it's a difficult one, but it's a personal decision, Denise, to, what feels right to you. Benjamin was your imaginary friend. Cool. Earaches. A lot of sensitive children suffer with earaches. They suffer with throat infections because they don't feel they've got a voice as well. because of trauma, my hearing and eyesight went a bit bad. Yeah, it can affect your eyes. Your eyesight can go bad as well. I started getting short-sightedness, which means I can see up close. I can't, it's not brilliant at a distance. I can manage without my glasses. At 25, it hasn't got any worse. But up until that time, there was a lot going on when I was a teenager. In children, like we used to get our dinner and my dad wanted to watch the news, which is my worst nightmare. And Ethiopia was on at the time. There was a lot of children dying of starvation, and we've got a big plate. In fact, we had 3-course meals. My mum liked to cook 3-course meals. Celtic. And I used to feel guilty that I had all this food and these pot-bellied poor kids were on TV dying of starvation. And that stayed with me for a long time, and that affected my eyes. When I look back on it, by the time I was 25, I didn't want to see what was out there. I didn't want to see it. So it started becoming a blur to me because I didn't want to know about the bad things that were happening in the world. And there's a lot of people like that, burying their heads in the sand kind of thing. I just focus on, what was in and around me. But then as I got older, I started to, realise that we've got to do something about it. And then in my 30s is when I got into reading about, what comes around goes around, and the law of projection and what's out there is coming from us, and all of this other stuff. So I started to understand it on a different level. Would it be interfering with your soul's journey of kids before the age 6 and go through healing? Not at all. Not at all. I've done healing on children. A lot of children come in with a lot of karmic stuff and problems. Thanks for mentioning about children, because there was something else I wanted to talk about now. April, they couldn't keep me down in school. What a surprise. You're not meant to be kept down, honey. Not at all. Growing up in the 60s and 70s, yeah, same as that. I was born in 65. Good for you, Kathleen. Get the kids outside. Strep throat is children linked to. Throat is about not having a voice, generally. That you don't feel like you can speak up, and anger gets stuck in your throat. If you've got anger, if you're being, if you're subject to abusive stuff, or you have to visualize abusive behavior or aggressive behavior, and you're not big enough to fight back and say what you think, and that can cause throat infections. Yeah. I said, if you believe he's real to you. Good answer, Denise. Yeah, good answer. Always playing outside. Lies and more lies. Yeah. When I was a kid, we used to hitchhike along the canal on barges. We would go out for 6, 7, 8 hours playing. And, we'd go off for miles and miles on our bikes and stuff like that. Okay, once children were old enough to ask about Santa, I tried to give an age-appropriate true answer. Yeah, good. Okay. The lies are coming up, things are coming out. Same with your vision, eye surgery when you were 4. As an adolescent, I lose my voice a lot. There you go, there's another one. Not being able to voice your opinion. I always wonder how those who lie a great deal keep track of it all. I know, to be honest, compulsive liars, they're smart. It's quite narcissistic as well. Got an earaches a few times in the past 2 years. It could be that she's not liking what she's hearing. Could be that, she's not liking what they're hearing in school or something like that as well. It's not just home, there's a lot of time spent in school. Yeah, those commercials, it was on the news every single night about the starving children in Ethiopia when I was young. So I had an issue of guilt that I had to deal with as well. Yeah, violence, so, that does affect as well. I hated the sound of the news in my mum's house and her older movies that I actually had a lot of violence. I used to watch the cowboy and Indian movies with my dad, and I always wanted the Indians to win. They rarely did, obviously. But, you know, I was always on their side. They used to make me cry, but my dad liked watching them, so I would watch them with him. Constant tonsillitis and strep. Yeah, I had the same. Constant tonsillitis and earaches when I was a kid. Youngest of a family of five. Five I was. Suppressed rage, that's linked into abuse as well. And anger and rage lets entities into your system. So if you've got anger and rage, I've actually got an audio on my website that clears out anger and rage from your system. For anyone out there that doesn't know the difference, rage is powerless anger. So rage is very common in kids that have been abused or in abusive situations where they can't step up. They just have to put up with it because they're not big enough to fight back. So it's very common and the PTSD, of course, post-traumatic stress disorder, and if it goes on for years, complex PTSD, which is multiple traumas. And it's all linked in with addiction then because they start self-medicating with whatever. As I said earlier, most people, you say addiction, they think junkie or alcohol, but it's not. It's sex, it's shopping, it's internet, it's eating, you know, it's working. It's all sorts of things we can get addicted to. There was something else I wanted to bring up tonight as well, particularly about the children. It just feels important at the moment that, you know, we get it out there about the importance of taking care of the kids. A few weeks ago, I talked about being careful what comes through the screens as it imprints into you. I don't think I've got the drawing with me now. It's in a book upstairs, I think. So it's like, you see the grids. Let me show you this because it will help a little bit. Right, so this, imagine you're inside of your energy grid and there's another person in the other side of this energy grid, right? What connects you, not this, ignore the bit in the middle, but that's connected with a wormhole of grids as well. It's a bond, it's an imprint. And so if one was a screen, it imprints into your consciousness. And whatever you're watching comes with you, stays with you. It doesn't just go away. There's not a disconnect unless you know how to cut cords, cut ties, cut interfaces, cut bonds. And this is all stuff I teach in my first 12-month program. So if a parent is always ill, for example, or always talking about someone else is always ill, and that constantly talking about that illness or the fear of that illness, that they're worried that their child is going to catch this or something like that, imprints onto the child. So it's not good for pregnant women. Is another very, very delicate child in the womb, to be around a lot of people, sick people, to be around alcohol, to be, pregnant women need to be taken care of. They need to be in a safe space. They need, because there's a burn in the oven, and that little burn can be imprinted on even in the womb. The spirit hears what's going on the outside. So if you've got things like not feeling wanted, not feeling loved, because your mom or dad or both, when they found out that they were pregnant with you, weren't happy about it, you know about that when you're in the womb. You bring that soul wound, which it can cause a very deep soul wound, into this life with you. Soul wounds lead to entities coming into your system, which lead to addictions. So it can go back as far as when you were in the womb. It can go back further than that, you can come in. I know people and I love Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, brilliant. Biology of Belief, if you haven't heard of him, please check him out on YouTube. I had him on my radio show years ago. He's cell biologist that talks about genetics, epigenetics, and genetics, and the fact that diseases are not passed down genetically, but I believe they are passed down epigenetically, which is the consciousness. Epigenetics is about your environment and what's in your field around you affecting you on a physical level, because it comes through on an energetic level. So your environment affects you, your environment creates the disease, and so on and so forth. But if you're in a household where one of your parents had a disease, let's say diabetes or something like that, I've spoken to people many times. They go, well, my dad had it, so I'm going to get it. They've just called it in. Just because your parents had a disease, any disease, even the big C, doesn't mean you're going to get it. It's not genetic. It's genetic if you believe it's a genetic, because you've taken it from being non-genetic to epigenetic. And you've pulled that in because you believe it's genetic. So these things are really important as well. So people that can imprint, parents can imprint disease onto their children. They can imprint disease. If you're pregnant and you're constantly worrying about something happening to the baby, you're imprinting anxiety into the baby, and the baby's going to be born with anxiety problems. It's going to have issues that may not be there straight away, or they may be there straight away, so they may be crying all the time. Dr. Gabor talks about when he was, I can't remember the country, it was during the Second World War, and his mom thought they were going to be killed. They were Jews, so it was really in Germany. Thought they were going to be killed by the soldiers, so she gave him, he was a baby, to a friend to look after for a month while she went into hiding, I think. And he puts that, as one of the causes to his addiction because of abandonment. He thought he'd been abandoned. So even just leaving your children with other people and your animals without talking to your child's spirit, even if the child's only 6 months old, still let them know, I'm not going to be away for very long. I will be back to pick you up soon, because that 6-month-old baby has got an older consciousness on the level of spirit. Your dog, if you're leaving it with someone, or your cat, say, I'm going to be back, if it's 3 days, in 3 days, that's when you've had 3 sleeps when it's dark at night time. And just explain to them, because they do take it on board. They do take it on board. So just being very aware when, if you've got children, if you're pregnant, if you know pregnant people, explaining the importance of, where they go when they're pregnant and what they're watching on screens, what they're watching, what movies they're watching, what they're watching on their phones. All of these things can imprint. And if they're imprinting into the mother is imprinting into the child in the womb as well. These are things that most people wouldn't even consider, right? Tonsillitis and Hashimoto's, yeah. Food prices in CA won't start going up. Well, you want to start saying the food prices in California are going down. Start manifesting the opposite. If you keep saying it's going up, you're manifesting more of it. Candy. So maybe do it in your meditations. Everything's getting cheaper. Tonsils removed at 3. Yeah. Floaters in my eyes. Westerns with my dad as well, yeah. So much pain and anger, sadness, depression, hurt through. Some I feel it's ancestral. Can't tolerate dishonesty. It makes me feel disgust. Yeah. Yeah. So let me just read these other comments. Rage is powerless anger. Yeah. So basically, rage is very common in abuse victims because they can't fight back. So they've just had to put up and shut up. Let me just roll down here. I'll see Ryan answered it. Thanks, Ryan. Treatment in 68. Mum had a shock treatment in 68. Electric shock treatment. I don't know. There was a lot of experimentation went on. Yeah, both my children are adopted and both their pregnancies were unwanted. So you may need to be looking into that at an early age with them. If you get any, bear that in mind if they were adopted and there's going to come a time, I've had friends that were adopted that get to a point where they want to know who their real parents were, and it's not always good news. In fact, I had one very good friend who didn't find out until he was 57 that he was adopted, but he lost both of his adopted parents, and then he found out he was adopted and found his real parents who weren't together. And he's the only person I've ever met in my 20 years as a therapist and healer that went into a soul fragment that was super happy instead of traumatized. He just couldn't stop smiling and was just pumped and so happy all the time. And it was because this soul fragment was just skipping around that he'd got his, found his real parents. And his mum was not so happy because she had another family of her own and her husband didn't know she had a child at 17. So that caused a bit of drama there. But the dad looked like his big brother, and they're big buddies, and he's 62 now. So that was a happy ending. Currently reading Biology of Belief, Racer. Yeah, Bruce Lipton's brilliant. Don't accept the disease. Okay, Romania. Everything is getting cheaper. Yeah. Everything is getting cheaper. Okay. We can do a little meditation if you want to finish off, and we can be pulling in that everything's getting cheaper. Everything's getting cheaper. What can we suggest to an adult child that was in the womb when physical abuse began? Mother was also sick on bed rest. They need trauma healing, really. When people come to me, I regress them back into the womb and I talk to them as a baby in the womb. And it, all of it, this is where we're at in our ascension. It's like every single thing is coming up. It's going to come up, whether it comes up this week or whether it comes up next week or whether it comes up next year, or until we've dealt with everything we've got. It's a long-term commitment. The people that have incarnated on Earth at this time, most of you, there's 68, 69 of you on the live. You're all going to be light workers and starseeds, or else you wouldn't be listening to me. And we're here because we are here to be the change that we want to see in the world. And it's not just about going outside into the world and being kind and compassionate and being good people, because that's easy. Most of us probably been doing that our whole lives. It's about getting deep into your DNA and into your field, the grids around you, which is this drawing. No. Your energy fields. There's a hole down the middle, so your energy comes in and it goes round and it goes round, and it's like a slinky. It's a toroidal field. All of this has information in it. All of this holds trauma. It's not just about clearing the trauma, though. When the planets are in alignment, so when there's the equinox and the solstice and the 11-11 portal and the 12-12 portal and all these other portals, and we have a lot of them every year, the planets hold your karma and ancestral karma, and they download it to us at a bit at a time. So you might think, oh, I've got through that and I've cleared this ancestral trauma, and then next month, hold on a minute, it's come back, what's going on? And that's because the planets have aligned and they've given you another dirty plate to clean. Basically, it's just like lots and lots of dirty plates, and you get a plate and you clean it and you think, oh, done, I've got rid of that grief or that anger and whatever. And then there's another dirty plate comes in front of you and you're like, where did this come from? Until you become fully enlightened, and there's a lot of work to do, and maybe not even all in this lifetime, there's always going to be work to do. This is not I will do this healing on myself and next year everything will be fine. This is for the rest of your life on Earth. Healing is going to take place. Because even though we've shifted into 5D, and we have shifted into 5D, it's there, Many of us have got higher levels of consciousness than 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, that we may be in. Some people think they are, but they're not. And some people think they're only 5D and they're not. They're 9 or 10D in their consciousness. Your consciousness, your mind consciousness, is different to your physical body consciousness. So your DNA consciousness and your mind consciousness are different. So you can have 10, let's say you've got 10D consciousness, that you understand all about these really higher concepts of reality, but you eat junk food, then your body is, still in 4D, but your mind is in 10D. We need to bring them together. Mind and body need to be, vibrating at the same frequency as we're moving through life. So there's a lot of work to be done. It's not just, there's no quick fix. So getting into a routine of doing something, if you haven't got money to spend on, like the products I've got, there's free healing on my homepage, my video. The one portal is there to take out metal toxins. If you're eating ordinary food that's not organic, you've got metal toxins. So even if you use that once a week, you're helping yourself keep your vibration up. Learn to meditate, because meditation is healing in itself. No mind is healing. When you go in, the candle meditation that Randy used to share, when you get into no mind, you're with one. You're in bliss. That's healing you. And you can go into that with intention. I'm going into this meditation with the intention of clearing this anger within me, clearing this rage within me. Set your intentions when you go into it and use it as a healing meditation as well. There's so much you can do. Sejan, Janine, what are your thoughts on detoxing the herbal tinctures prescribed by an excellent neuropath, or should I start trying to heal my ailments with my mind instead? To be honest with you, over the years I've used both. I rarely take stuff these days. The odd thing, I take L-tyrosine. If you've got ADHD, I take L-tyrosine for that. But there are 6 different types of there are 7 now. The 7th one is anxiety, but there are 6 different types of ADHD, and there are specific herbs that you can use. L-tyrosine is just a herb. I think they're $20 for 50 capsules on Amazon. It's an amino acid, and what that does, it stops you procrastinating and helps you focus. So it brings you into balance, and it makes a huge difference. I take one a day, and I'm really balanced in my work now. And if I forget to take it, I can work for 14 hours and I can't stop. I can't go, that's enough for today, I'll finish that tomorrow. So it really helps. So it's just sometimes I think you need herbal tinctures just to give you an extra little boost. The other thing that's really helpful is massages, reflexology, because it's not just your mind may be clearing out psychological stuff and energetic stuff from your system and from your field, but your physical body needs the touch as well, needs the massage to get it out on the physical level. So it's working on all the different layers, and physical touch is important to human beings anyway. So particularly if you live on your own, treat yourself to a nice massage. It's nurturing and it's TLC. Everything's so affordable for everyone. That's a good one. I adopted my 2nd and my 3rd, and I spiritualists helped me through explain she's best friends. Good for you, beautiful life, adopting children. Good for you. Thank you for that. I was given my last rites at birth and wasn't supposed to make the night. Well, you're here. Well done. You weren't supposed to go. Go through the layers. Lots of dirty plates. Yeah. Cleaning the dishes, guys. Cleaning those dishes. It's a full-time job. It is a full-time job. When you realise, when you really get into it, I've been doing it for 20 years now. And I would say every day for 15 of those 20. And like I say, this last 4 days, I've just been crying and crying and crying and healing inner child and abandonment and grief and not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, stuff, coming out. So, and those of you that know me, I've done a lot of work, as you know, but I'm getting closer and closer to the goal, because I do want to become fully enlightened in this lifetime. I want this to be my last lifetime on earth. And, I'm achieving that at the moment. I'm not saying that I'm not going to still be around in the other spheres, because I'll probably end up teaching on other planets or somewhere. But, I came into this life with the goal in my Akashic records of becoming fully enlightened. And it's not an easy thing to do. I've gone from being a very social, with lots and lots of friends, to very solitary creature with a handful of friends. And I don't like being in crowds anymore. I'm really more sensitive to loud music now than I've ever been as well. And it does make a difference. It has changed. But I'm much more grounded than I was when I was younger. I was running around hyperactive all over the place, couldn't sit still. Even in my 30s, I couldn't sit still. And now I'm the opposite. I can sit very still for a long time if needed. You don't understand what's the whole ascension thing and why is it happening now. Oh, wow, that's a whole rabbit hole. Basically, everything is energy and it vibrates at a certain frequency. And many of us are on Earth at this time to raise our energy, raise our frequency to a higher frequency, which is changing the frequency for the whole planet. So the Mother Earth can go from 3rd dimensional frequency bandwidth to a 5th dimensional frequency bandwidth. And when we can get into that higher level, we're becoming more enlightened. So the world is going to become a better place. Less of the greed, less of the 1% owning everything, less of the slave labour and all this other stuff. So what's going on? There's a bit of a battle between the light and the dark over your mind, your consciousness, because your mind is what creates your reality. It's called the law of projection. So, yeah, if you don't know what ascension is about, I would just Google what is ascension or go onto YouTube, because there's lots of it. So we're basically changing our frequency. It's like tuning our radio station into a higher bandwidth, which is going to be a purer bandwidth. So it's a level up, I call it. That's it in a couple of sentences, but it's a bit more complex than that. May the will of one be done. Yeah, it's a good thing to say. Organic or not, chemtrails get on everything. We all have metal toxins. I don't see chemtrails. I don't see them. So, it depends where you are. But you can cloak. If you work in groups to help protect the planet and things like that, you can ask one to put energy domes over the food as well. My friend down in Florida I was talking to today was telling me about how she put a dome over her house when the hurricane hit, the last big one. And both of her neighbours had their roofs ripped off the house and hers wasn't touched. So that was just asking Spirit to put, what she calls Spirit, God, I call one, to put a dome over a house. And I was in quite a scary hurricane situation when I was down there 5 years ago. It was a 74 mile an hour wind, and 75 is a category 1. But I've never been in a wind of 74 miles an hour, and it was terrifying. And even in my friend whose house I was looking after said, don't put your head out the door or the window to see what's going on, because his friend lost an eye with a pine needle flew into his eye when he looked out of his door during a hurricane. So I can't imagine what it's like being in 100 mile an hour or more. But we put domes over all of our friends' homes and none of them got damaged at all. When bridges were ripped down, like roads were gone. So it were, there was a lot of bad stuff goes on, but you've got the ability to tap into God, whatever works for you, and ask for that help and that protection. You can put it over food. Yeah, there's metal toxins in everything. That's why I put on my homepage and my website, if you go to the second video down, how to connect to one, I explain how I got to one. And there is a healing meditation to take out metal toxins because I figured it was probably the most beneficial one I could put on there for free for everyone to use. So you can go and use it once a week. I sun gaze. Yes, I love sun gazing. Sun gazing is called baptism with fire. And you can just be either in the morning when the sun rises for up to an hour after sunrise or for an hour before sunset. And you can stare into the sun and you can ask the sun to release programs and patterns that are in your system. I see a grid coming down like through my system when I ask for it. Sun gazing's great. Herbs can help with a lot of things. There's plant medicine, as in, that's a whole other video. Ashwagandha. I'm taking ashwagandha at the moment. Yeah, I am. Cupping is good as well. Herb I was talking about, L-tyrosine, Tyrosine, L-tyrosine. Yeah, it's L-tyrosine, because tyrosine is a different thing. So it's got to have the L in front of it. Cleansing dishes, caring for cats and dogs, was joyful yet exhausting. It is, Mary. So it's L-tyrosine for ADHD or procrastination, not being able to focus. Medical exam. Panic attacks can be energy shifts going through your heart as well. The shifts come and we go through different chakras in our body with each shift. So it moves up through one, and then the next shift is that, and then the next shift is that. And when it goes through your heart, you can feel like you're having palpitations and stuff like that. But also entities and hooks going into your heart can feel like you're having panic attacks and anxiety as well. So yeah, blow them away when I see them. Yeah, blow them away. Okay. Putting domes really works. Yeah. Thanks, Racer, for putting my... Thanks, Kanesha. That's it, L-tyrosine. Can we sit while looking at the sun? We can sit. Yeah, we can sit. Yeah, you can sit while you're looking at the sun, yeah. Yeah. Major feeling in the heart. Yeah, it could be that you've got something hooked into your heart. So you might need to sit with that and just tune in. If you can connect to one, if you've been following me for a while, just connect to one, tune in, focus on your heart and just ask what's the root cause of this feeling that I'm getting in my heart. I was working with a friend today. She won't mind me telling you this. She's had a lot of problems with her gut, bacteria, digestive system for years and years and years and years, and she had trauma as a child as well. And today I did some work with her, and just as we were going to finish, I asked, what's the root cause of this digestive problem that she's had for years? And I got shown her being disemboweled, everything taken out of her in another lifetime. So, and I do this in the Akashic Records workshop. So I went into her Akashic Records and asked the record keepers to bring out all parts of her body that were missing. We brought back 3 stomachs, all of her intestine, her bowel, her bladder, her heart, 2 brains. She'd been really cut up in past lives, in rituals and stuff like that. So I believe that her digestive problems are going to start getting better now because we've put her body back together. Because those things being in your Akashic records, everything's got energy grids. Those energy grids need to be brought back in for you to be put back together as whole again. That's what holistic is about. It's about putting all these things back together. She also had a problem with her gum and a toothache, and she was going to get the bridge taken out in her teeth, thinking that it was that. And I could see a big hole in her face where she'd been shot in the face. So we healed all that as well. Which, if you've got all these templates in your face damaged, that's going to have a knock-on effect, in the side of your face as well. So when you get an illness, I'm not saying don't go to doctors because that's unethical, but it's still worth tuning into it. Like, sit with it, do some deep breathing, sit with it, focus on it, and ask your higher self, or one, if you connect to one, what's the root cause of this problem, and see what comes to you. Because many, many times it will be a past life injury or parallel life. There's really no such thing as past lives. Everything's in the now, in the moment, that your body is trying to release that trauma from, so it gives you physical symptoms. Okay. So things you may be, it's like years ago, I had frozen shoulder. No, I couldn't even pull my own jeans on. Couldn't move it at all. I couldn't sleep. I had to put a heat pack on to get me to sleep, and I probably slept for 2-3 hours if I was lucky. The pain was so bad. And it was all heartache coming out of my heart and getting stuck in my shoulder joint on the way down. So for many, it took 1.5 years to heal it. I'm going back probably about 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Constantly trying to channel the energy down. And that was past life, that was parallel life stuff coming out. It wasn't just all this life, it was bringing it out from every lifetime where I'd had heartache and grief was coming out down the meridians, down my arm, and getting stuck in the knuckle, in the joint. So I did the left side and that got better, and then the year later I had the right side, and that was anger, because I'm right-handed. This is your male side. And I've spoke about this before. There's always been times in your life where you wanted to either hit somebody or you've hit somebody in a past life. We've been warriors. We've killed people with swords and fought and stuff like that. And all that anger needs to come out of your energy template. So it got that, that one I healed that took 1 year. This one took 18 months and this one took 1 year. So it was multiple lifetimes because we're multi-dimensional beings. And I work multi-dimensionally. So it wasn't just this lifetime. And plus I came in to clear all my ancestor stuff as well. So that's why it was so bad in me. And I remember going back probably 10 years ago, maybe more, where in those days I used to talk to God, what I called Abba, said to me, we're going to be clearing through your body the grief from the crucifixion of Christ, or the belief in that storyline. And it's going to make you ill. And I was like, okay. I was ill for 6 weeks. I had flu symptoms for 6 weeks. For 3 weeks, I couldn't get out of bed. I lost 7 pounds in weight. Every single hair on my body hurt. Everything, my eyelashes, my eyebrows. I couldn't believe how much trauma was coming out. But that was clearing ancestral beliefs related to the crucifixion of Christ. And we've all been many different religions in our lifetime. I know I've lived in Saudi Arabia, and I've been African, and I've been, Christian and Catholic, and we've gone through, there are 7 spheres, and we, most of us have gone through all of them, the old souls on the planet, and old souls like myself. We've got much more healing to do as well, because we've had more lifetimes. And we've had more experience. And we've been healers, and we've been preachers, and we've been nuns, and we've been monks, and we've been all these other things. So we've got a lot of hidden knowledge in us. We've got the ability to do it. So if you are an old soul, you've got more work to do than most. Okay, thoughts on parasites. During one of your meditations, I was pulling out hundreds of worms and it cleared my throat chakra after the fast. Now I'm doing cleanse. I feel great. Good. Yeah, good. Parasites, yeah. And back surgery and now nerve damage, and I'm still suffering. Have you seen Doctor Strange? You can fix the nerves in your back yourself with your mind. If you have a treatment with me, I will show you how to do it. And you just need to get in there every day and rebuild it with your mind. You can repair them. You can take the trauma out and you can repair them. It can be done. It's amazing what people can do. So, okay guys, do you want to, I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes already. Wow, time goes so fast. Broken bones, all on my left side. Your female side, that's emotional damage. Female side. Yeah, for as long, more work. April, you're funny. We need to have a chat next week, girl. Thank you. Shall we just do a quick, 10-minute meditation? Yeah? Okay. Let's do it. So when you're ready, for anyone who's new, just in case, and there are some new names, waiting to meet Dr. Strange. Okay, if you're new, I'm going to talk you through some breathing. Then we're going to go to the source portal, which looks like the sun, and we're going to go beyond that into the void. And that looks like the universe without any stars or galaxies. And we're going to pull a line of that down through the source, through our body, into the centre of the earth, and we're going to spread it around the planet. And we'll sit in it for a minute. And manifest together. Let's manifest the prices going down. Let's manifest an end to inflation. Okay? And whatever else you want to ask for. But if we're all doing it together, this is a nice big group to do that. Let's manifest the prices going down. If anyone, so people, ready? Okay. So when you're ready, just close your eyes for me. And take a nice deep breath. Breathing in through your nose, all of the way down into your abdomen, and breathing out through your mouth. Feeling more and more relaxed with every breath you take. Breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth. Let go of any noises in the background as you focus on your breathing and my voice. Feeling more relaxed with every breath you take. Breathing in through your nose, down into your abdomen and out through your mouth. On the next in-breath, this time just breathing into your lungs, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you're breathing, taking your awareness out into your internal universe, to where you see, sense or feel the source of creation. And imagine a beautiful white orb of light, like the sun. Now imagine a hole opening up in the middle of that, and we're going beyond the source into the clear void of one. And it looks like the universe without the stars and galaxies. And imagine a tube of this bliss energy coming down through the source, towards the planet, towards your country, or state, or province, your city, town, or village, your street, into your home, into the room and into the top of your head. Filling your head with this bliss energy as it comes down your neck, down your spine, and into your heart. And your heart pumps it throughout your whole body to every cell, every fibre, and the spaces in between. Sending that bliss down your spine, down your legs, and imagine you've got bare feet on the grass or the sand on a sunny day, and sending it down into the earth all the way to the center, nice and grounded. Then taking your awareness back to your breath and just breathing gently into the upper chest now, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And expanding that bliss energy in your heart beyond your physical body, filling the room, your home, your street, your village, town or city, your province, state, your country, until it completely surrounds Mother Earth and out into the universe as per the will of one. And then just let your breath find its own natural rhythm and relax. And we might as well ask one to offer this energy to Mother Earth, to the water, to the food, into the air, to all of the animals on the planet, if they'd like some. And while we're in this beautiful space, asking one to lower the prices. And imagine the prices going down on food, on rents, on mortgages, on gas, and anything else that's important to us. And let's just hold that vision for a minute. And actually, while we do that, I'm just going to play my Tingcha chimes. And if you want these to heal your chakra system, in your mind just say I, otherwise we'll just send it out into the world. And I'll do it 7 times. I like the number 7. Okay, my beautiful Tingcha chimes. Okay, and let's just hold the energy. Oh, made a little noise when I was putting them down. Let's just hold the energy and just hold that vision of inflation dropping and things getting better out there for everyone. Just have that, even just a little minute of quiet and stillness and that peace. This beautiful bliss energy going into everything, into all of the food and the water, into the oceans, into the rocks and the mountains and the crystals and the plants and the trees and the grass. Raising the frequency, helping the animals because they're on the ascension path as well. And just sharing that bliss energy as a collective. And just to get some joy going, let's imagine ourselves dancing now, jumping with joy because the prices have gone down. There's no more chemtrails. The food is clean. People are working to put more bioorganisms back into the soil. Let's hold that vision of really good things happening on the planet. Changes being made, people waking up, people realising how important it is to care for one another, to care for Mother Earth, to see animals as our siblings, not our food. It's not necessary. And just feel the bliss. Beautiful. And then, when you're ready, coming back. 1, being aware of the room that you're in. 2, being aware of the noises in the background. 3, wriggle your fingers and toes, feel your physical body again. 4, sending roots down from the back of your heart. Make your heart your base chakra, so we're grounding that love, that bliss, down into the earth, sending those roots down your spine, down your legs, and imagine you've got bare feet on the grass or the sand on a sunny day, and sending those roots down into the earth like the roots of a massive oak tree. Really ground yourself. And then 5, eyes open, wide awake, fully conscious, and back with us. Okay, guys, that's a nice peaceful way to end this chat. Thanks for joining me, and have a pleasant evening, whatever's left of it. It's getting late for some people. Sleep well if you're going to bed. And I'll see you. I'm teaching on Sunday, Female Freedom Workshop. If you haven't done it, it's an awesome workshop. Cancels anything to do with menstrual cramps. Read the feedback. Somebody has been diagnosed, she's done it before. It takes away the menopause. She's been diagnosed as menopausal, has got no symptoms whatsoever since she'd done the workshop. So it's a really good workshop to do. These are the last few that I'm doing live. They're all getting recorded and they're going to be going on as online courses. I won't be teaching any more live workshops after April. So, you're welcome, guys. Yeah, it was you, AK. Thanks for the feedback. Take care, and hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow in the Academy. That's another thing, if you haven't joined the Academy, tomorrow at 12 o'clock Pacific. 2 healings a month for only $99 a year. So, all good. Thanks, guys. I'll see some of you again tomorrow. And thanks for joining me. It's been great to see you all. Lots of love. Bye for now.